Hello, welcome to the Harmonica Barge. Today I want to talk about different embouchures for bluegrass harmonica and different techniques that you can get with those embouchures. So I'm going to deal with pucker and tongue block, obviously the big debate. Do you tongue block or do you pucker? But let's just define what I mean by bluegrass harmonica, because bluegrass is a bit of a catch-all term that gets kind of used for any American music that might contain a banjo. And bluegrass players argue about this all the time. But I'm talking about the acoustic music as really started by Bill Monroe and his Bluegrass Boys. Well, they sort of came up with the term bluegrass. You could argue that people were playing that kind of music before in a similar context, but he sort of invented the stylistic term of bluegrass, what we know today. So I'm going to start with the pucker technique, because I would argue this has probably got a bit more precedent over the course of the music, and people like Charlie McCoy, you know, perhaps the father of bluegrass harmonica, such a recorded harmonica player, mainly playing in the pucker style. And the pucker kind of really suits this clean, linear style of playing. So where you're playing these notes in a line, often not playing too many chords or double stops or splits or other things which you'd be doing with the tongue. So if I just went to Cripple Creek there, Charlie McCoy actually played on the Flattened Scruggs record. They're this amazing bluegrass combination. Check out Flattened Scruggs if you haven't heard of them. And, you know, Charlie McCoy would perhaps play Cripple Creek. So he's putting in these faster runs of notes, and it's still very linear. Not many chords going on there. Another great player, unbelievable speed and virtuosity, is Buddy Green. So a fantastic player. Some of these people might play in a mixed embouchures, and they might not always be puckering. So there's a bit of a disclaimer there. But I think they do a lot of that style. So Buddy Green, very fast, linear style, playing very gospel influenced. And so the pucker really allows you, many people would argue that it's faster for playing melodies. Now, of course, some tongue blockers will not agree with this. You might say that if you want to play very fast melodies with no effects, say tongue block effects, just very clean single note melodies, why would you do a tongue block anyway? Unless it's for the blues guys, obviously argue that they get a better tone. But when you're playing very, very fast bluegrass, that tone is perhaps lost anyway if you're really chugging along with a melody. So we could say that pucker playing is the faster, cleaner style. And when you've got these quite fast licks on bends as well, especially on higher harmonicas, they're going to fall a bit better for the pucker technique. If you're tongue blocking, that can be quite hard to get the definition on the bends. So I'd say that's where the pucker has its strengths, in that very clean style. Now, there's other players who play a lot of pucker, who are also very rhythmic as well. So check out Mike Stevens, is a fantastic bluegrass harmonica player, played at the Grand Ole Opry with Jim and Jesse, I believe, a lot. And another one, fantastic player, you don't really hear about him much, a guy called Mark Graham, who's really got an amazing sort of old-timey bluegrass style, very rhythmic. And what you could start to do if you play pucker, and maybe if you don't play a lot of tongue block and you want to start to get some effect, some chords and rhythms into your playing, you can start to do these chugs in the space. So I'd say trying to find the space, and Mark Graham's really fantastic at this. I might have to get into his style a bit more in another video. If I just play a bit of Cripple Creek. So coming down the melody there, I could put a little chug in after. Or make it a double. And I'm just doing holes 1, 2, 3, and I've chosen to do a draw there. And then I've got my other riff. And on that riff, I turn the last note from a single note into a chord. Instead of doing a 2 draw, I'm doing a chug. Putting those little snatches of chords in where I can. And substituting wherever I get a low draw note or a blow, say 1 or 2, holes 1, 2, even 1 and 3, I can put a chord in instead. And then start to fill in the space with these little rhythms. So I'm just trying to explore here the things that pucker technique can be very useful for. So what about tongue block in bluegrass harmonica? Well, you could argue that tongue block's a more traditional style. So if we go right back to almost like pre-bluegrass, early 1930s, you've got some amazing players, and a clear example of, if someone says no harmonica in bluegrass, the great African-American harmonica player DeFord Bailey, if you haven't heard of him, do check him out. An incredible virtuosic, seminal harmonica player. He actually toured, I only just found this out, he toured with Bill Monroe's band. Bill Monroe loved his harmonica playing. So what a validation that is for bluegrass harmonica. And another great player would be Wayne Rainey, fantastic player. He played a lot with a band called the Dalmore Brothers, highly influential acoustic country musicians, and really that they sort of predated bluegrass, and they really brought the guitar to the forefront of country music, acoustic guitar. They kind of invented rock and roll, you could say. But Wayne Rainey was playing with those, a very, very rhythmic style, and he brought a lot of fox chase kind of rhythms in. So I'm going to... There's a great track of his called Lost John Boogie, very funny lyrics, and it's based on that fox chase groove. So lots of examples of tongue blocking and rhythmic playing there early on in bluegrass. So perhaps where the style was making the change from old-timey music to go on the stage and become this form of music, this performance form that we know as bluegrass. So if we approached Cripple Creek with tongue block in mind, well, instantly we've got slaps there. We could slap. When I hit that 6, I could get that more power by slapping on the 5. I can do octaves. I can do slaps with the octaves. And this is where the style gets a lot more old-timey. You hear that old-time harmonica, lots of tongue slaps. And you can get these nice train effects again with the... I mean, you could do those with a pucker as well, but there's something for me kind of lends itself to the tongue block with that really big sound. Again, check out Wayne Rainey for some of this stuff. So if I play like the B section to Cripple Creek, I wanna go, I wanna go, I wanna go to Cripple. Now that to me is almost like crying out for that kind of fox chasey rhythm. And playing these big train effects, So there's a few techniques to keep you going, and I'd strongly recommend you to go and check out these different players and these styles, because there's actually a wealth of bluegrass music out there, and the harmonica can be hard to find. But try the different techniques, and you know, some techniques will work with some tunes and other techniques not so much. Maybe if you're improvising in a jam situation, you might want to lean into the pucker more. If you're playing a solo piece like a fox chasey thing, then you might want to lean into the tongue block. But you know, none of these things are exclusive, and you can do both techniques and mix them up. If you'd like more detail about this tune, Cripple Creek, I've got an in-depth lesson where I go into both pucker and tongue block embouchures and explore different approaches. That's got full rhythm tab, and it's in video format, so do click the link below if you're interested in that. Do subscribe to the channel and give us the thumbs up and like if you haven't already, and I'll be back with a whole bunch of new videos very soon. So see you then. Take care.